Despite not always playing their best basketball, the Toronto Raptors still managed to win back-to-back games against the Charlotte Hornets. So, how important will this be as the Raptors head into a very difficult 6 games on the schedule? Can they use these wins to gain momentum and pull off maybe a positive record in the next 6 games? Let's get into it. Welcome to the Raptors Roundup on Amateur Hour Sports. This is the segment on the channel where we talk about the Raptors game from the night before. We give you a brief overview of the game. We take you through a synopsis of proceedings, and then we give you 3 takeaways that you can move on with for the future. But this is Amateur Hour Sports, the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. So if it is your first time here with me today, you like what you see, you want more of myself talking about the Toronto Raptors in videos just like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, show your support to the channel. We just started live streaming on the channel. We've done our first 2 live streams in the last couple of nights. We did a Q&A and then we did a watch along last night for the Hornets game, and we will be doing one tomorrow for the Dallas Mavericks game, so make sure you are present for that. We had a great time last night. So let's get into our overview of the game. So the Raptors come to this one having won on Thursday night against the Charlotte Hornets, and it was a very close game after the Raptors go into the fourth quarter up by 13. The Charlotte Hornets claw back. The Raptors do not close well, having only 12 points in the fourth quarter, but they still managed to eke out that 3-point win because they are simply a more talented team than the Charlotte Hornets. Now, we go into this game where we get kind of more of the same. The Raptors showed their quality, showed that they were a better team throughout most of the game, but fell asleep in some parts of the game, and therefore the Charlotte Hornets were afforded a chance to get the win, but the Raptors, as we know, managed to hang on for another slim 3-point lead. So let's get into the synopsis of the game, starting with the first quarter where Aaron Baines gets a start again. And, I was asking in my chat, is Aaron Baines going to get any more minutes than just his standard 4 or 5 minutes to start the game? I said, absolutely not. Nick Nurse clearly has his plan with his bigs, and it's not to give them any more minutes than just to start. And that is exactly what happened here. Aaron Baines started out the game a -10 because the Raptors came out the gate slow, and the start could not have really gone any worse. Despite forcing turnovers on back-to-back possessions to start the game against the Charlotte Hornets, they still managed to go ice cold from the field. They went 0 for 6 from 3 to start off the game, and the Charlotte Hornets pulled out to a 12-2 lead, and that lead eventually grew to 14-4. And that's when Nick Nurse had enough. I thought he should have called the timeout earlier, but he had enough at 14-4. Call the timeout. And I want to know what he said in that timeout, because the Raptors come out of that timeout flying. They hit 5 of their next 7 threes, started dominating in that quarter, eventually took a decent lead in the quarter. They go on a 16-5 run. The 3-pointers are falling. They're getting to the rim, getting points in the paint, and eventually come out of that quarter. I believe they're up by 4 points as we head into the second quarter. So big props to the Raptors for recovering after that slow start. We get to the second quarter. The bench is making a huge difference in this game. Boucher is just becoming a very reliable player to hit his threes, get his points in the paint, get blocks, be a stellar defensive player, hit his free throws. He's just doing everything he possibly can to help the Raptors win. And Norman Powell probably has his best game of the season offensively. Norman Powell makes a lot of mistakes, and my goodness, we will get to some of those mistakes, but offensively, Norman Powell was hitting his open threes finally, and to a degree was getting to the rim. Malachi Flynn also got some decent minutes. Didn't really affect the game very much. Came in, hit a 3, and, was kind of amped. Hopefully, we'd see Malachi Flynn start to, hit more shots. But then he had a lot of gimmies, a lot of elbow jumpers that just wouldn't fall for him and caused a couple turnovers and didn't get a lot of minutes in the second quarter. Played a little bit in the third quarter, but was just kind of there. Didn't affect the game enough for me. We were in absolute cruise control, and I remember in the live stream, a guy in the chat said, Charlotte better be careful or the Raptors are going to run away with this. And I said, whoa. Put on the brakes, because the Raptors do this every game and Charlotte still make it a close game. And that is exactly what transpired over the next little while. The Raptors, who were up by 17 points at one point, I believe, get to the last 4 minutes of the quarter, which looked a lot like the first 4 minutes of the game. And the Raptors' struggles were especially evident in the last 9 seconds of the half. The Raptors entered the last 10 seconds of the half up 8 points. Charlotte Hornets hit a 3. Norman Powell takes a 3 going the other way with 6 seconds left on the game clock. which gives the Hornets another opportunity to hit a shot the other way. Norman Powell goes full on J.R. Smith mode with this three, bricks it. The ball gets to Terry Rozier, who goes coast to coast for a pretty nasty buzzer-beating three, and all of a sudden, the 8-point lead we had just 10 seconds prior has evaporated, and it is now a 2-point game going into halftime after Norman Powell takes a stupid shot, giving Charlotte another opportunity to go 4 points. And this wasn't Norman Powell's only glaring mistake. The amount of turnovers that this guy was causing. I mean, when we see Norman Powell have the good offensive game, we ignore those mistakes a little bit more, but those mistakes were still very glaring despite Norman Powell's excellent 24-point night. And also, what the hell is it with Terry Rozier when he plays against the Toronto Raptors? What possesses this man to hit those kind of shots and be just this crafty slasher and elite three-point shooter whenever he's playing against the Toronto Raptors? I don't know. Some players just have those teams that they always perform well against. For Terry Rozier, that is the Toronto Raptors. Third quarter, I was pretty pissed off with how the half went because we gave the Hornets that psychological advantage going into the halftime team talk. You know, the Hornets probably went in super amped up, super excited with how that half went because they came back and made it close again. The Raptors were probably a little bit demoralized, a little bit of head and hands going into the locker room at halftime, and it showed. They came out flat. The Hornets come out lively, and the Hornets dominate the first 4 minutes of the second half just as they did in the first half. But then another timeout from Nick Nurse, and all of a sudden, the Raptors completely turn around the game again. We get back in the game, and from that point till the end of the game, until the end of the fourth quarter, it was pretty much neck and neck with no team really taking a hold of the game or taking a lead. Siakam is not having his best game. I think he was taking too many threes, needed to get back to his thing where he's just getting to the bucket because field goal percentage was off. He finished 0 for 5 from 3 in the game. And Chris Boucher got in foul trouble and had to get taken out of the game. So the Raptors had to go small for a long time. And big props to Stanley Johnson, because when Boucher was off the floor and Stanley Johnson was getting minutes as the 5, defending Bismack Biyombo, Stanley Johnson did a fantastic job on defense throughout the game. He is just a completely different player than last year. So happy to see how well Stanley Johnson is playing, and it was great in this game. Gordon Hayward was playing great for the Hornets, got a lot of little bailout foul calls in the first half, but Hayward had a great game, made it difficult for the Raptors, and the Raptors go into the fourth quarter up by 1. Fourth quarter, all you got to do is win the quarter, and you've got another win to put on your record. But the game remains completely even throughout the fourth quarter. Anytime the Raptors start to pull away a little bit, maybe get a 5-point lead, the Hornets get a big 3 to get themselves right back in the game. Throughout the entirety of the fourth quarter, I don't think it was ever beyond a 2-possession game. As we get near the end of the game, Devontae Graham is a man possessed, hitting big 3 after big 3 to keep the Hornets in the game. And, I think it was a 1-point game. Kyle Lowry, who I said throughout the stream, I said, Kyle Lowry, if we get a big shot near the end of the game, I want Kyle Lowry to be the man taking that. And my God, Kyle Lowry sauces a man up in the mid-range, steps back for the fadeaway 2-pointer to give the Raptors, I believe it was, a 3-point lead at the time without that big shot to settle a lot of the nerves, because the Raptors shoot so poorly in the clutch. Without that big shot, the Raptors lose this game straight up. The Raptors don't win that game without that Kyle Lowry shot. Did you know the Raptors came into this game shooting 14% from the field in the last 2 minutes of 3-point or less games? That is an absolutely appalling stat. I said it so many times in stream. I said it so many times in my other videos. They improved that field goal percentage to now 16.7% when it gets late on in games. So at least it's better. But Kyle Lowry hit that shot, hit that huge shot to keep us in the game. But then I believe Devontae Graham went the other way and hit a huge deep 3 to tie up the game, which kept it close and kept Charlotte in this game. Forgive me if I'm mistaken, but Graham was hitting a lot of shots, but big props to Kyle Lowry for that dagger mid-range shot. We found ourselves up very late where Stanley Johnson forces an air ball from Devontae Graham. He put on the clamps, and that wasn't the only time late on. He forced 2 air balls late on in the fourth quarter. Stanley Johnson, huge props to him. And the Raptors hit their free throws down the stretch. They're clutch from the line with Boucher and with Fred VanVleet, and get the dub over the Hornets. Another narrow 3-point win over the Charlotte Hornets in back-to-back games. That's got to be tough on the Hornets, but I don't care about that. The Raptors got the win. They got 2 wins in a row. They are 4-8. That looks a lot better than 2-8. Hopefully this is the road to recovery for the Raptors. Both teams had an ugly fourth quarter, but a win is a win is a win. So let's get into the 3 takeaways of the game. The first key takeaway is that this is a good confidence builder for a struggling Toronto Raptors team, but they need to be better over their upcoming games. Their next 6 games are the Dallas Mavericks, the Miami Heat twice, the Indiana Pacers twice, and the Milwaukee Bucks. And this is going to be a tough stretch of games. The Raptors are these elite teams in the NBA? No, but these are very good teams in the NBA. And the Raptors probably at this point are inferior to all of those teams. Therefore, 6 games where they are probably the underdog, the Raptors are going to struggle. I think realistically, as a realist fan looking at this, we're looking at a 2-4 record from the next 6 games. I would be very happy to come out of these games with a 3-3 record. I would be over the moon. I'd be over the moon if we can turn that into above 500. But the Raptors know they will need to be better in these next 6 games. The way they played against the Hornets was good enough for the Hornets, but it won't be good enough against these teams. The Raptors take this momentum, take this confidence, go into those games, go in hungry, feeling like you can win, and see if you can get something out of it. The Dallas Mavericks play, some sloppy defense. They're just a team who outscores their opponents. Maybe if the Raptors go on a run, they have a good shooting night, they can get it done. The second key takeaway is that Chris Boucher is a reliable player all over the court, whether it be on defense, whether it be on offense, shooting threes, shooting free throws, getting points in the paint. Chris Boucher is a very reliable player. When the Raptors went down 14-4 early, he was coming in and he was doing some big things to get us back into the game. Chris Boucher is probably the favorite for the MIP award at this present stage, and I just want him to keep going. He's looking like my favorite player in the Raptors this season so far. I love what he's producing all over the court for us. Third key takeaway is that OG Anunoby, after his very slow start to the season, is finding himself. Had a very good night yesterday with 18 points, and I felt like every time the Hornets were going on a bit of a run where they looked like maybe they'd take over the game, OG Anunoby hit a big corner 3 to just put it to bed, and keep the Raptors in the game. In other games, I was saying, who's going to be the guy to get our buckets when the going gets tough, when the other team is on a big run? How are we going to halt that run when we're shooting cold? The answer yesterday was OG Anunoby, and that answer was on 3 occasions. Big props to him. Hopefully he keeps that going, playing up to that $72 million contract. So we play the Dallas Mavericks on Monday night. I will be doing a live watch along for that game. I hope to see a lot of you return to that one, and I hope to see a lot of new faces in that stream. We had a great time. Please come join the stream if you want to have some good fun while you're watching the game. Have a good pregame, postgame, and halftime show along with a lot of in-game content. It was a blast last night. Let's keep it going. I'm liking the live stream. Hopefully it is something that we can continue to do on the channel for the foreseeable future. So let me know all of your thoughts and opinions on this game. What did you make of the Raptors' performance? Who stuck out to you individually? And what do you think the Raptors' record will be over the next 6 games? Let me know everything in the comments down below. But that wraps it up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're here, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this. Thank you so much for the huge support in the last couple of days. I did a collab on another channel that I will link in the description below. We've improved to 1,700 subscribers in the last couple of days. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I hope I can keep you entertained with the NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.